Number 2.
So let me start off by telling you I worked at a club that is no longer. You know, due to my bosses being not only bosses to us girls but also to the mob. So of course, the feds, they wanted them shut down. But at the time, this was a private club and quite a popular place for men to come to, and, well, let's just say, unwind. There are many unspoken rules at these places that no one would know unless they themselves work there. One of the rules, of course, is to be safe, and to not let the men confuse what you do as a relationship. Unfortunately though, some girls did not follow these rules. One of these girls was Kim. Kim not only forgot this rule, even with many reminders from management, but it got to the point where her real-life boyfriend was getting jealous. Long story short, she decided that she was untouchable. After all, boyfriends are not allowed in the club, and she did not see her customers outside of the club. And the fact that we all worked for the mob, she recognized that we had a little extra protection, as you will. Now the layout of the club was as follows. You walk in the one and only door. Straight ahead is a stage, and to your left is another stage. Directly to your right is the door to the locker room, and by that was the bar. The same side as the door you walk into was the men's room. So it was like most days, many men in their seats, girls walking around with a girl on each stage, and many girls also in the locker room. Kim, at that time, was one of the girls in the locker room. She was on her phone at the time to her boyfriend, going on about her day so far at work. Everything seemed fine between the two of them. Unfortunately though, Kim didn't know how much her boyfriend was sick of hearing about her and what men she danced with. This was especially true of one particular guy called Steve that she always went on about. The gifts she would bring home and brag about that Steve had gotten her were quite extravagant, and this had pissed off Kim's boyfriend. Well, she was called up to stage and ended her phone call, promising to call back when she had time. Unfortunately for Kim though, she had no idea that this would be her last time calling her boyfriend, or anyone for that matter. Kim's boyfriend was sitting in the parking lot in his car. He was parked in the back, just blending in. After she got off the phone with him, he reached under the seat and grabbed his gun. He opened his door, got out and walked right up to the door of the club. He went inside but stood right behind the rope, looking just like everyone else, waiting to show their club pass to get in. The song switched and Kim stepped off the first stage and onto the second stage. As she did this, her boyfriend reached inside his coat. The door guy thought that he was getting his pass and so thought nothing of it, until it was too late. He grabbed his gun, took aim and shot her. He turned around and ran back to his car and took off. One of the managers, Lisa, she tried CPR. At this stage, it was complete chaos. Most people were running for cover, not knowing what to do or what was going on. After some time and after everything had cooled down, the paramedics, they finally arrived. But by the time they got there, she had passed on. The saddest part of this whole thing though was, by the time her body was taken out, the big bosses had arrived, and they just told everyone to get ready to get back to work. They told the waitresses to clean up the blood and to just get on with it, as if nothing had ever happened. I have never seen so many people so quiet all at one time.
Number 1.
So I was working on a Saturday night, and I just started at my place of employment. And yes, it's an adult club. I believe that it was a Thursday night that I began. The night started off as any normal night did. That is, until this guy comes in. I approach him where he's sitting, which happens to be in a dark corner of the club. I say hi and I start my small talk, as I do with everyone. I started off pretty normal with things like, how was your day and how's the weather and so forth. Then, as is pretty routine in my line of work, he asked what it would take to see me outside of the club. I, now tired of hearing this question, go on to once again say for the 100th time that night, "Sorry, but I'm not the one for that. But I'm sure you can find someone willing. So I'll just excuse myself so she can come and find you." I turn to leave, but he lightly grabs my arm and says,
"But everyone here has their price."
I again say my go-to line at this point.
"Yeah, you're right, $1 million.
With a slight giggle in my voice. He was not happy with my answer. He then stands up and throws about $3,000 of large bills at me, and he walks out the door. Being that he left out the front door, and me not being stupid, I pick up the cash and act as if nothing happened, and I go on about my night. Unfortunately though, the guy came back in later, and he tells my boss that I took the money and I didn't dance for him. Well, I got called into the office at this point, and my boss told me to give the money back. I was pissed and said,
"No, fuck that. He tipped it to me, and not even nicely, being that he threw it at me, and he made me pick it up off the floor."
My boss went on about how I would have to go to the office and talk to the big guys about it. It was well out of my way, and I didn't want to do that. So I said that if he wants compensation for it, I would give him a few dances. And now that we could charge what we wanted, I decided that $1,000 a song would be my rate. So after all of this, I go and find him in the dark corner again. I told him that I would dance for him, and I asked him to come back to the area where we danced at. He then said, "Right here is fine." By this time, I just didn't care anymore, and so I just proceeded to dance where we were. After the few songs, I stop, and of course, he begins yakking away again about wanting to take me home. So I stand up and start to walk away, rolling my eyes. I also tell him that I already told him no. He once again grabs my arm, but not so gentle this time. He then turns me around and says,
"I'm not asking."
He then grabs me by my throat and picks me up by my neck and says,
"But you don't understand. I live on the 10th floor, and I think your nice body would look great being thrown out of the window."
At this point, I'm just thinking how crazy this guy is. I then knee him right where it counts. He then drops me with a yell, and the doormen, they come over and I tell them to get him the fuck out. I walk out with the doorman after this. I grab a smoking robe on the way out of the door. I wanted to see what he drove just in case I had issues later. And, wouldn't you know it, he just so happened to be driving a white Chester the Molester van. You know, the ones kinda like work vans, but there were no windows in the back. I asked my doorman why they didn't do something earlier, explaining to them everything that just happened. They said that they couldn't see in that corner. Anyway, after all of this, I decided to just call it a night. I get dressed, pay out, and I get in my car and start my way home. I'm about to get on the freeway when a van, yes, the van I not too long ago saw the creep from work get into, he was honking his horn and trying to tell me to roll down my window. The whole time I'm thinking, fuck that and fuck you, dude. And when the lights turn green, I turn to get on the freeway.
Fuck, he's following me. Well, I have over an hour drive home. He has to give up with that sort of length of drive, right?
Boy, was I wrong. I speed up. So did he. I slow down. So did he. After about an hour of this, I just started thinking,
fucking hell, dude, just go.
I started speeding up, then slamming on my brakes. And being that it's now 3 a.m, we're alone on the freeway. This went on for a little bit, until we came up to this small bridge, and he starts to ram my car now. I'm in a small two-door and he's in a big van, and he keeps ramming into my car. I did all I could do to stay on the road, but then I hit the wall of the bridge. I straighten up and I decide that this has to end. I grab my cell and I call 911. I put them on speaker so I can keep fighting to keep my car on the road. Now, I know the area where I'm approaching quite well, so I decided to take the next exit and try to lose him on the back roads. As I'm doing this, I'm telling the 911 dispatcher what road I'm taking at each turn, as they keep telling me help is coming. Finally, I see red and blue lights behind me. The operator tells me to get off the road and pull into the auto shop that's on the next block. I do this as I see the guy being chased by police disappearing down the road. An officer comes up to my door and, relieved now, I roll down my window. But he then asks me to step out, hands in the air. I get thrown on the ground and handcuffed, and then ask my name and so on. I answer all of their questions and then I ask, why am I in handcuffs? Thank God another officer came up and told the first officer I was the one who called and needed help. He told the police officer to let me go, and he apologized to me, saying that the guy was a rookie. I provided a statement to the police, which they said that they would follow up on. And after everything was done, I never felt so happy to finally be home. G'day mates, it's B-Buster here. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video guys. Thanks again to the Hive members that bravely shared their story for us all here, and I hope you're doing well. For the chance to have your story feature in a video, you can send your story to my email, which is in the description below. And as always, keep them coming guys, as this channel relies upon your stories to continue. Also, please do me a favor and just state in your email what your story is about in the description, and also provide me with a short written statement of consent just so that I can be above board with everything. And also remember to tell me in the email if you would like to remain anonymous, and please change any names if you don't want particular names to be shared. As always guys, it would be awesome if you could like, share, comment and subscribe if you're new. Don't forget to follow me on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram for updates throughout the week. You can also catch me on my second channel, all of which have links in the description below. Thanks again for always tuning in guys, and for all the love and support, and I'll see you mates in the next one.